Hey, I'm Fanny Minnitt, your faith and inspirational lady. You're tuned in to the Fanny Minnitt Show. The Fanny Minnitt Show teaches you how to identify faith in your everyday life. We share and we bring on great guests like I have today, Miss Lori, to help you increase your faith. We want to reach great faith, levels of great faith. So, Lori Vober with me today, and we have her book, Choices. When you are faced with a challenge, what choice will you make? Lord, when you're faced with a challenge, what choice will you make? I read the book and I love it.
Oh, thank you.
And I thank you for coming on the show to share with others, because there are some people, especially this day and time, there are some people just don't know what choice to make. You know, things happen, and I saw that later we'll talk about some things that happen with you later. But I see throughout your life you had some really critical choices you had to make. And there are so many people that, Lord, they don't know what to do. And they get stuck. They go into depression, or they just give up totally. But we all have choices. You have a choice. We don't have to just kick back and let go and that's it. And there's so many people that went to the grave, they're in the grave now, and they had greatness inside of them, but they made the wrong choice. And then they never was able to share that greatness. So let's get into your book, because we want people to get this book, so I believe it will move them into great faith. I do. If nothing else, it's going to move them into making better choices or make a choice. They're going to be able to make a choice. And so I was reading your book, and chapter 1 starts out with God always has a plan. So tell us more about that. God always have a plan.
He does. And Fanny, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I do really appreciate it. And yes, my husband and I have been through quite a bit of challenges through our lives.
God has some plans for you. You went this direction, that you wasn't even planning to move.
No.
And you end up. So go back to that, and let's go so they get a little background of how you end up where you ended up.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So start at the beginning.
Yeah, the beginning. We got time. We got time.
That sounds wonderful. Well, my beginning started actually on the East Coast. I was actually born on the East Coast in Atlanta, Georgia, but I consider Texas to be my home.
Okay.
And I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area through high school, and I attended the University of Texas, Austin, so Texas Longhorns, so it's our alma mater.
Okay.
And spent all 4 years in the Longhorn Band, and God really taught me a lot about perseverance by being in the Longhorn Band. And really, I look back, and there's so many things you go through in your life that you don't realize the traits that you're accumulating and you're getting at the time. But later in life, those traits really come back and help you. And one of those was the skills and the leadership qualities. I received a magnificent education at the university, but it was the traits and the skills that I got by being part of the Longhorn Band that have carried me through many life challenges. By being in the Longhorn Band, perseverance being one, and leadership skills by being part of the band and the sorority that really helped me. And I talk a lot about that in my book. When I was first in the Longhorn Band, I did not make it my freshman year.
I said, bless her heart. But then you did something else with them.
I did.
To hanging there with them.
I did. I was made it my freshman year by being part of what's called the Bertha Crew. They pick individuals based on their enthusiasm. And actually this year is going to be the 100th year celebration of Bertha as a big drum. And then I went on my second year as a sophomore and made it as a piccolo player. My a junior year, I was already slated to be an officer in the sorority, and I didn't make it into the Longhorn Band my junior year. Again, however, with my perseverance and my friendships and my connections, the Flag Corps had not yet had their tryouts, so I had a whole group of friends that said, okay, you will go on and try out as a flag. I did. I learned everything there was to know about being part of a big flag, and I tried out and I made it into the Longhorn Band, and that's where, again, choices. I could have given up and just said, forget it, but instead I went on, I tried out, I made it into the Flag Corps, and it was a true love. So I went on for my last 2 years in the Longhorn Band as part of the Flag Corps, and it was just a wonderful experience. And so God taught me a lot about perseverance and going beyond your challenges and always looking for that next opportunity.
I love how you made the choice to keep moving.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you were a part of that band. That was your family. And
That was.
And then all of a sudden, you're not chosen for whatever reason.
Right.
But you didn't just give up. You found another avenue to stay in that. I didn't even know bands had sororities, to be honest, until I read
There
your
are
book.
so
I'm
many
like,
people that have
sorority
said that.
for?
Yes.
I didn't even know they had a sororities. But anyway, when they didn't choose you, you could have made a choice to just give up. Because Laura, I had a friend years and years ago when they merged the schools, and we both were really active in schools. But when they merged the schools, they just didn't treat us right where we were. And I made a choice to go into the debate club because I want to talk about this thing. Y'all gonna hear me roar.
Yes.
But she took a total direction in life. Her choice was just not to do anything in school no more, and she ended up dying. She ended up dead because she ended up on drugs and stuff like that. But her choice wasn't to find something else.
Right.
Don't let these people beat you down. Find something else. My choice was, okay, I'm gonna find my super character right now and do what I need to do.
You found your voice.
Her choice was, I'm done. And so many people's choice was, I'm done. So I'm glad when I read that, I said, yes, she made the choice to keep it moving.
Right.
We're talking about choices here. You have got to make a choice, first of all. We have to make a choice. And I'm so glad that you made that choice, because some people might think, well, that's simple. She wasn't chosen for the band. That's simple. That, she had to do this or she had to do that. But people don't realize the smallest things in life can determine your direction.
Oh, yes.
For the rest of your life in some people's cases.
Definitely.
What do you think about that?
I definitely agree. And, you don't realize how significant those choices can be in the long run, for your self-confidence, for your friendships. So many different things affect those, and then the friendships and the belongings. Some of the friends I saw this weekend that I'm in town, I have not seen for years and years and years, but they're still very, very dear friends from my Longhorn Band days, and I treasure those friends.
We will be right back with more of Lori and choices. This is the Fanny Minnitt.
Reading is fundamental. Where does that leave writing? Join us in celebrating and honoring Christian writers dedicated to spreading messages of faith and hope. Make a meaningful impact. Submit your faith-based book to the Christian Literary Awards and be part of a community that values and uplifts Christian literature. Our platform is designed for writers like you who surrender their writing gift to God. The Christian Literary Awards is your next step in excellence.
I have the most awesome guest, and if you missed the first part, you're live streaming, so just go back and listen. We're talking about choices. And Lori, on page 28 of your book, I have learned you just never know what the real plan is. And I highlighted that because I said, you really don't. Because you'll have this major plan and then it unravels right before your eyes. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't plan to do that. Or I didn't plan to move there. Or you you just never know, right?
Right,
But it's
right.
good to structure it and have things in place, but we just have to know that we never know.
Right.
Because
right.
you end up moving to, I don't want to go that far, but you end up moving to Minnesota.
That's correct. So
Now, tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So right after I graduated from college, I went to Oklahoma with the petroleum industry. I graduated from
Phillips 66.
Phillips
right?
66, correct, with a business degree, marketing and sales. And the idea was to train in their headquarters. And when a territory opened up, then I would start my career with my own territory. And 6 months later, they said a territory has opened up in Minnesota. And I reference in my book that my life, if anybody has seen the movie New in Town with Harry Connick Jr. and Renee Zellweger, my life was like that. I was very naive to what Minnesota was like. And at this point, it was looking like I would be in Minnesota in January of 97. And I was very naive of what Minnesota in January 97 was like. And I was very much a team player. So I said, great, my own territory, team player, I'll go, until I got there. And I had no idea how much snow and how bitter cold that was until I had gotten there. And this Southern girl had never seen that much snow or that much bitter cold, except for ski trips to Colorado. I had never tried to live in that type of weather. And I immediately realized what a mistake it was. And
Knee deep in snow.
It was, literally. And but at that point, I had already found a faith, and I knew church was a really good start for finding good friends. So there was one church that was on the same street as one of my gas stations, and I was in charge of 6 gas stations in the Twin Cities area. And so that was the church I started to go to. And I didn't meet my husband right away. His mom actually had just passed away from a 16-year fight with cancer. And
16 years.
16 years she had fought hormonal cancer. And so I did not meet him right away, but met a girlfriend that we became very good friends with. And she actually went to high school with what is now my husband. And over time, we eventually met and eventually started dating. And as I now look back on my journey, and I say,
you all were in your 20s.
We were in our 20s.
Time, right?
We were in our 20s. I was 24. He was 23 at the time. And I now see that God moved me there not for my career, but to meet my godly mate. But I didn't know that at the time. I thought I was moving to Minnesota just for my career. And so we actually only dated technically 6 weeks before he popped the big question and asked me to marry him.
Going on really good.
Yes, yes. He was a little farther along in the process of knowing what he wanted, but you know, it progressed quickly, and literally by June of that year, we went on a date and walking around one of our favorite lakes. And he popped the question, and when I called my parents that night, they literally said, "We didn't even know you were dating someone. So who is it that you're engaged to?"
I know, right?
And but
they were good sports.
They were good sports, and it was meant to be. It really was. It was, and he's a wonderful man.
You know what I really like about that part of your story is the memories. It seemed like you all through your life you were creating memories purposely. And then when you met him, you all created memories purposely, even before you got married.
Yes.
And I thought that was such a great thing. And I wrote down, why is it important to create special memories? Why was that so important? And why do you think other people, why it should be so important to create memories?
You know, I think it was so important to us to create memories. I think maybe part of it was because he lost his mom. We realized how short life really is. The other thing that was so interesting is we both thought we would marry into bigger families because we were both only children.
Right.
And I think with the combination of that and his losing his mom, we came up with the idea for our wedding that we wanted to have a collage of pictures at our wedding to show from our birth on of pictures of us. And we realized, though, we had such a short engagement that we did not have a lot of pictures of a long engagement. So we immediately started taking pictures of times together and creating memories.
Wow.
And so I think that's where the memories came in, is we just immediately started taking pictures. We started taking trips together, and he worked for the airlines, so we hopped on a plane that next weekend. My parents lived here in Dallas at the time, so we came so he could meet them properly, and ask my dad for my hand in marriage like he should have. And so he did everything right. He did it a little backwards, but
Right.
they were very gracious and welcomed him into the family, and it was definitely a wonderful celebration.
Oh, yeah, it sounded like it. I read that part and I was like, oh, this is just so awesome. And in your book, you have these navigational tips and tools
Yes.
in the book. And one of the statements you made on page 46 is, it is easy to lose each other if you aren't careful to protect your love and relationship.
Yes.
So I believe part of that, those memories develop relationships.
Yes.
I
Yes.
really believe that, because if you have no memories, then how do you build a relationship? And
Right.
so, and it must be a choice. Yeah, and when you think about it, it's a choice to build a relationship. It's a choice to create memories. Some memories just happen, and other times it's a choice to create those memories.
Right,
Like this
right.
summer, we're creating every summer we create this massive memories with our grandbaby.
Oh, wonderful.
But it is a choice that we have made, and we
Yes.
don't want him for 1 day or 2 days or a weekend. We want him the whole summer.
Oh,
So he get to know
wonderful.
us, we get to know him. And so I believe even in marriages, every marriage like yours need to make a choice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
need to make that choice to make sure that you're creating memories. Choices is awesome, and sometimes we don't think about choices in that aspect, but
Right.
we need to make choices in everything that we do in our lives. Don't you
Yes.
think so?
I think so.
We think,
I think so.
I really do. So and it was something else you said here that just kind of, well, your whole book is good.
Oh, thank you.
I have to get this book. So the entire book is good. And so I like that. You said, I'm so grateful we took advantage of quality time together and making memories prior to starting a family. And so a lot of those memories that you and your husbands created was before you got married, but you and your family had a lot of things going on too.
Yes.
Y'all made. And so we'll be right back.
In a world that demands your silence, where does your voice find its power? This May 9 through 12, unleash your potential at the Soar Out Loud Content Creator Summit, hosted by Minister Sister Soldier with special guest Apostle Fanny Minnitt. It's a call to action for women ready to transform vision into reality. Join us for a transformative journey of inspiration, networking, and empowerment.
I have been here with Lori Vober, which is oh my God, this is such a anointed, powerful woman sitting here with me. Why? Because she's changing lives all over the world. And we want you to be able to purchase a book, get a book. How can we get your book?
Yes, thank you so much for asking. You can go to my website at lorivober.com, and you'll find all the links of how to order my book today.
Okay,
Yes.
what is that again?
It's lorivober.com, and on there are all the links. And if you sign up for my website, in my newsletter, you will get chapter 1 as part of the free gifts.
Whoa, get chapter 1, your free gift, and then purchase the whole book. I'm telling you, it's good. I've read it. I love it. And it's going to help increase your faith, help you become the force behind your faith. All right. So before, I know if you tuned in earlier, Lori started telling us about a stroke, and I stopped her. I stopped you. I said later. Okay, let's talk about that. What happened? Because you were in your 20s.
Yes.
Life was going fine. You know, you had a lot of choices, but nothing that was going to just knock the socks off your feet. But what happened?
Yes. So my husband and I had been married almost 5 years. I was going on my 30th birthday. I was 29. And at that point, we had both worked at the airlines. We were both working for Northwest Airlines. And we had been trying to start our family and had not been successful yet. Thought a lot of it had to do with stress. We were on opposite schedules. I was traveling a lot in the sales and marketing arena, working with travel agents. And so a job came up at our church. So we thought this would be a great opportunity, less travel. So I accepted the job as the office manager of our church. It was January of 2003. And as luck would have it, 3 weeks into the job, I suffered a massive stroke. It was called an intracerebral hemorrhagic stroke. Came out of nowhere. I was very healthy, I thought, and it was caused by a malformation of blood vessels on the right side of my brain. And I thought I was making the transformation of job change to start our family. And I now see, like so many other changes I had made in my life, God had another plan. And He literally, I believe, was making this change not to help us start our family, but to save my life. Because had I stayed at the airlines, I could have easily been in an office building, I could have been in a hotel, I could have been in an airplane. Instead, I was at our church. At the time I had my stroke, I was with other people that knew me, and there was a Bible study going on down the hall. And
But hold it down. We want people to understand that normally when you're at work there wasn't all those things going on.
Exactly.
It just happened to be this particular day.
Exactly.
The church had people in it.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
It was a Friday, and normally on Fridays, many staff are absent. Fridays typically at a church are when all the pastors take off. And this particular Friday, there were things happening. I had a coworker working with me, and so yes. For whatever reason, God had my back that day, and He had covered me with people working with me. And at 29, I should have known the signs of a stroke, and I didn't. I was not feeling well. I had a headache. I felt sick to my stomach. My arm felt a little odd, and something told me I couldn't drive, and I couldn't drive home. So I called my husband, and my parents actually had moved from Texas to Minnesota 18 months prior to be closer to us because they knew we were trying to start a family, and they lived closer to the church than my husband. And he said, give your parents a call and let them know how you feel. And as soon as I called my parents, they already knew that something was wrong, and they said, we're on our way. And it was when I was sitting in my chair, my leg went numb, and I fell from my chair. And we called 911 at that point. We knew something was desperately wrong. And I did see my parents at the church, but it was soon after that I did lose consciousness, was rushed to the hospital, had a 5-hour brain surgery that night.
5 hours?
5 hours
Wow.
to stop the brain bleed. And I woke up 17 days later off of life support and a drug-induced coma, completely paralyzed on the left side. So what we thought as life, what we had originally known it, had changed. And it just shows that in the blink of the eye, your life can change. So never take anything for granted. And even today, I take things for granted. You would think after all we've been through, I wouldn't. But you know, I'm human, and as we all are.
Yeah.
And we get back into our normal daily lives. But I had to learn to do everything over again. I had to learn to sit up again, learn to stand again, eventually learn to walk, learn to swallow. So everything started over that day. And I was in the hospital for 2 months, went through a second brain surgery. It was a 10-hour brain surgery this time to remove the malformation so that another stroke would not happen. And I went home in a wheelchair 2 months later. And we went to live with my parents. We never went back to that same house because it had stairs. And my husband worked in the airline industry, as I said. This was right after September 11th. And as we all know, that was not a good time for our country. And the aviation industry had a lot of slowdown. And so 2 months later, after my hospital discharge, he lost his job. And once again, though, God had a plan for us. And I talk about it in my book, but God provided a new job for us in Arizona.
Right.
So we picked up and we all moved as a family of 4 to Arizona. And God provided a job for him, but he also provided a wonderful rehab facility for me. And that's when my recovery really started taking off. It's at a recovery facility in Phoenix called Swan Rehab. I was one of their first patients, and it was just wonderful. I just dedicated all my time there. I started working 6 to 8 hours a day on physical therapy. It became my full-time job, and they really instilled in me that the brain does have the ability to relearn. It's called neuroplasticity. I had fabulous therapists that really believed in me and took me a long way. And I just spent those years dedicating myself to getting my independence, my mobility back. And that was my goal, is to, I liked to exercise before, and God really protected me emotionally because I always had the outlook that, number one, I had, remember when we talked about Longhorn Band, I had the positive outlook and the perseverance traits to just keep going. And God really helped me look at everything from a physical standpoint, that if I could keep exercising, if I could keep rehabbing, eventually I would get better.
Yeah.
And although I still have a disability today, I've come a long way, and I'm still independent. And in 2011, we continued with our family planning, and we adopted a sibling group of 3 from Colombia, South America.
After all of what you went through, how did you come about making that choice to adopt?
Well, you know, we still had a heart for a family, and we had been involved with the Compassion International organization since the time we were married, so we had always been involved in giving back to children. And I think we just had such a love for wanting to have our own family that we thought we were at a crossroads. I could continue working really hard on getting my life back, and we could continue supporting others, or we could continue trying to have our own family. And we just didn't feel like, with my disability and epilepsy, I started having seizures from the stroke, that it was safe to have our own children. So adoption seemed to be one of our best options.
Okay. That's a good.
So
that's
we
how
just
you end up.
we decided to go the adoption
Because I
route.
was like, Lord, all of that in there.
It's been a journey of blessings and challenges, but we've given our children a family that they might not have ever had, and they gave us children that we might not have ever had. So
Wow. You have to get this book. Thank you, Lord, for being on the show. Thank you.